Absolutely. There's so many ups and downs. And, for me, even personally writing this book, I have entries from 2017. Like, this is not something that's happening overnight for me personally, because it's just a collection of stories throughout my life. So being patient with yourself is important. And, I always believe in having this big end goal, but then breaking things down into smaller bite-sized pieces to keep going. And I'm also an athlete. My husband and I run, 20 plus mile trail runs in the woods. And yeah, it's fun. It's fun. But I think it's really important to remember that you don't do the marathon the day after you sign up with no training. That's the best analogy. And the same thing with a book. A book is going to take time. It's going to take heart. It's going to take maybe some tears. It's going to take energy, and have the end goal of this is happening, but work backwards. So what do I need to do today, tomorrow, the next day to just show up consistently to build the momentum needed to finish and achieve that thing, because it is possible.
Hey, welcome back to Living the Next Chapter. I have Bridget Sicsko on today. Bridget helps authors write their books. She is also an author herself, a podcaster, and we're really happy to have Bridget with us today to share about her writing journey, a book that she's working on, and how she helps authors. So here, Living the Next Chapter, welcomes Bridget Sicsko. Thank you so much for listening. Here we go. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Living the Next Chapter. It is like 10 o'clock in the morning on a Tuesday. I have my orange juice. I'm happy. And I have a great guest. So, hey, you got everything in life, right? Orange juice, great guest. We're doing really good. Bridget Sicsko is here. And Bridget is an author, and she helps other authors as well, which is great. Co-author books together, build community in writing. So, Bridget, welcome to the podcast. Nice to see you today.
Thank you. I'm really grateful to be here.
And I also must also include a podcaster as well.
I am. Many iterations of shows that I've done over the past couple of years, just like you.
So of about 2 years, roughly, you've been doing podcasting?
I've been interviewing people for the last 4 years.
Oh, wow.
Podcast form over the last 3.
So what could go back to the first few podcasts you did. How did you feel when you started out podcasting?
It felt very natural for me.
Yeah.
I think similarly to you, I've always been very inquisitive, and I'm always curious, why are people the way that they are? What shaped them? What have they experienced in their life? What are their goals? So for me, it's just been very, very fun, and almost the questions I would ask in person, just now recorded for others to listen to.
It's amazing who you can meet, right?
Yes.
And just by having a show, you get time with people that maybe you wouldn't have time in their calendar otherwise. So it's amazing to have people come on and share their story and connect people. And that, I guess, the one thing I love about podcasting is I've actually seen people who have never met connect through the podcast and now do life together. Yeah. That this podcast or a podcast, had it not existed, that might not ever have happened. Right. And you're just like, it's amazing to see how this all interconnects and how we can help each other. And the podcasting space, I find, is very accepting and supportive between podcasters, not so competitive. And you're just trying to help each other. And that's what a great space, right? I think the world needs to be a podcast. That's basically what I'm saying. Right.
I agree.
There you go. I think we've just come up with a new thing. Maybe a new podcast we could start.
The way I see it is that stories humanize us. Stories go beyond religion, race, gender. They go into experience and feelings and emotions which all of us have on this human earth plane. So it allows us to just understand someone and feel more compassion for someone. And in a world where sometimes we don't feel like we have that, I think it could be beautiful. So yeah, podcast of the world coming soon.
All right, let's work on that. I've got room in my calendar. You've got room, right? We're good. We can do this. What I love about the story component too is historically, if you go way back, like I love history. If you go way back in history, people didn't read or write, but they learned through story. So whether it be their relatives, a teacher, whoever would teach by story so that the people would learn the lesson or whatever that would be. And even like way back, like in stained glass in churches, they just have a picture of something in stained glass, and that would be enough to tell the story of whatever that story is. So you could just look at a window and then they can learn a story from that. So our whole world is built around story. So again, authors then connecting with authors who tells great stories. I'm so inspired every time I have an author on. And you've set up some great interviews for us already. Thank you so much. Like we just mentioned, we just had Sarah on. Super wonderful. I got more of your authors coming up. Thank you so much for making those connections. Really excited. So you work in a co-authoring space, helping authors in their writing pursuits. Can you tell me a little bit about how that all started for you as far as getting other authors to come and write with you?
Yes, this was not always the plan. It feels like the universe was guiding me in this direction, and there was doors that were opening. And we'll rewind to around 2019, and I was helping women entrepreneurs use live video to help them sell their programs. It was very focused. I was helping them with camera confidence, being able to articulate what their message was, feeling more comfortable around sales and selling, which is a whole other, can of worms. And I was invited to be part of a co-authored book project. And I had never heard of this besides the chicken noodle soup for the soul that was in the bathroom growing up. My mom would always have a couple copies of that book. And so I kind of understood the concept, but I hadn't really seen it in my field or my space yet. So I said yes to co-author that book. It was called Awakening, Meet the Women Birthing a New Earth. And we were all just sharing stories and how we felt that things were changing on the planet. And it was really well received as a piece of art and a book, but also really beneficial for me as someone who just started to pull together the pieces of my own story and get it out on paper. So a couple months later, I was given an opportunity by my mentor to start a publishing company, and it was really very much in alignment with what I had been doing and who I'd been serving, and it just made sense. And although I would never have expected myself to be here, I can look back and understand all the small little seeds that were planted to arrive here today. And now I support women business owners to help them get their stories out there. We help with nonfiction book writing, production, writing support, editing, formatting. And we also produce co-authored books where each person writes a chapter of the book. And we support with everything and give trainings on visibility and podcasting and public speaking and really everything visibility related. So that's where I am today. And I never expected to be here, honestly.
So is everything, the things that you're doing with your authors, are you doing this in a group setting or one-on-one?
So both.
Okay.
If they are writing their own book, it's just one-on-one. And then if they are part of any of our co-authored books, it's a group setting. So we get on calls and we talk about our stories and we start sharing and we talk about our businesses. And before I was doing all of this, I used to host women's circles, and it was a very simple concept. We got together in person and then online to discuss a theme. Maybe it would be compassion or self-love or rewriting our story. And each woman would go around and just share something. And I noticed something very powerful happen in those moments when we were just able to be seen and heard. And I think as humans, that's all we actually desire, to just be seen, heard, and loved. And I kind of took that concept and brought it into these co-authored book projects where we can heal through telling our stories. We can be seen, we can be heard, we can express ourselves, and we can articulate the events that have happened to us, put them down on paper, and not allow those events to also define us, but to become more than those experiences or those events or those traumas that we've had in our lives.
So as an author yourself, where do you draw your inspiration from?
Life.
Yeah.
I think that's most people, right? Life, as well as other books and podcasts, right? I think we're always responding to the world around us. So if I hear something or read something and feel very inspired, I start to then look at it through my own lens and say, okay, what does this mean to me? And, I'm in the process of writing my own book, and I was deeply inspired by Tosha Silver's work. Have you ever heard of her?
Yes, I have. Yes.
Yeah. So her books are my favorite. Her book, Outrageous Openness, literally broke my heart open and just helped me understand myself, the world around me, and some of these just beautiful divine moments that we could overlook if we don't take a moment to see them. So I feel that my inspiration comes from the world around me, but also what I respond to and what I receive in my field and make my own.
Yeah. See, like I always love hearing where people get their passion from, because it kind of seems to give you some directive, I guess, for what you're going to experience in your life. And you are the kind of the collection of what you collect in life. Somebody told me a long time ago, treat life like it's an article. You are like an article of clothing that attracts lint, and let things stick to you. Stories, experiences, just be aware of things around you and just wear these collection of, we call them lint or things, let them stick to you like a sweater, and let that be your source of inspiration as you just do life. Don't blindly go through life and just be so self-absorbed that you don't reach out or be more aware of what's around you. Let people in, and from reading, from podcasting, from whatever it is, just taking a walk and just letting things stick to you. And I'm like, wow, let things stick to you. I'm like, there's a book or a podcast or something in there, right? It's just like the whole idea of just allowing these things just to become a part of you. And I love hearing a great story and then resharing that story, and it becomes a part of your story. And that's what I love about this whole creative process. And speaking to people like you, because it's so inspiring for me. I'm not an author at this point, but listening to everybody, I just want to start writing something. It's great.
Absolutely. And the way I also see it, the publishing company kind of came out of that 2020 timeframe. And I felt like, back up, end of August 2020, my aunt passed away. It was a major, major marker in my own life to reflect on legacy and what I wanted to leave behind on this planet, because at her funeral, I just saw how much of an impact she made on others in her life by just being such a shining example of generosity and kindness and all the good that she brought into the world. And it really did make me think, what do I want to leave behind on this planet? And social media is beautiful. The internet technology, it's beautiful. And yet a book is something physical. A book is something that we can hold. And there's something about this tactile experience of holding a book versus just holding our phone and then being, in that technological other realm, that portal of the online world. It's different. And I realized I wanted to create something that, maybe my future children or the future children of children could hold in their hand and say, oh, wow, they wrote their words and I can now hold them in physical form.
Yeah. There's a quote I saw recently. I'm not really sure who said it, so I won't say the name, but it said that books are portable magic. And I'm like, wow, that is gorgeous. I love that. That's just, because you can just take them anywhere. I love it. So tell me a little bit about the book that you're writing right now, which is coming out soon.
Yeah. So again, influenced by my beautiful aunt, and she was very connected to God and angels and spirit and source. Mm-hmm. And she would always say, when there was a synchronistic moment, she would always say, you can't make this shit up. And I always just thought it was so funny. And now I hear myself obviously always repeating that. And she would also say, that's a God wink moment. So after her passing and then opening a publishing company and starting to write on my own, I was like, there's something there for me. And the book working title is called When God Winks. And it is a collection of these little stories throughout my life over the last couple of years. I've written down these things in my phone and journals of just these really special moments of feeling connected to a force so much greater than ourselves. And I want this book to serve as that type of inspiration because, being human, we experience so many emotions. It can be challenging. We have ups and downs. We have an entire, spectrum of emotions and experiences in this human form. And while that is true, there's also so much magic that happens in our lives. And I want this book to serve as just these little breadcrumbs or these little seeds that can be planted in someone's life where they can remember that things are beyond maybe their scope of understanding, and there is beauty in the world, and there is love in the world, and there are good people in the world. So a lot of these stories are just like those angels that you meet at a coffee shop, and you just start talking to them and they give you the words of wisdom that you needed in that very moment. Just those little things that bring me so much joy. And I know that whoever reads them, those stories, they will be just impacted and they'll feel maybe just a little bit better in their day and in their life.
As you're describing this, it sounds great. Like this is a book that's so needed. I'm picturing people that you're talking. I can see it. People leaving little crumbs as they go, but in a reverse way, people used to leave little crumbs on their journey so that they could find their way back home. They would follow the crumbs home, right? And in this situation, it's like your book is taking you to that place that you would call home.
I love that.
Right. And I'm just like, see, like that's inspiring stuff that I love. I love visualizing that and hearing it. And yeah, you sold me. Done. Book sold. Done. Working title. Done. Get it done. I need this book. It's great. I love that you're honoring your relative as well. That's so it's meaningful to you, right? Because that's a book that's going to bring you a smile on your face every time you see it, even on the shelf. Because you know that that's someone's legacy living forward. That's beautiful. It's great. And that's why writing a book, if you're on the fence listening to this podcast and you're like, I have an idea, but I don't know where to start. I don't know what to do. I've never written a book. What would you say to people they have a story like this and they would love to share it? It could help somebody. It really could, but they just don't know what to do. How did we start?
Well, I always say, first and foremost, there's no hierarchy in storytelling. So no one's story is better than yours or worse than yours. Everyone's experience is just their experience. So if you feel like you have something powerful to share, or important to share, or even just exciting to share, go forth and do it. We need more just beautiful works on this planet, things that inspire, empower, and show people what's possible. So we also have to remember that when we're setting out on this path of not really knowing where to start, we are in fact showing other people that it's possible, even if we don't know what we're doing. And most of us throughout life are just doing our best. We don't always know what we're doing. So I would say the first thing is just to remember that you have something important to share and there's no hierarchy in storytelling. And then I like to organize myself like, okay, what do I need to put a book together? Say you want to do the self-publishing route and you want to, figure this out on your own. I would start to do some research of, okay, what do I need to put a book together? Because obviously from the publishing aspect, I understand what a book looks like, the interior of the book, but most people don't know what that process looks like. And there's no gatekeepers anymore to the publishing world. So anyone can be an author these days. With technology, with Amazon, anyone can do this these days. This is not knowledge that's kept for only a certain echelon of people, which I think is so, so powerful. We don't have anyone holding us back at all. So I would say reminding yourself that your story is powerful and you have something to share, and just starting to understand what are the moving pieces to publish a book or to write your story. There's a lot of information out there and it's accessible to everyone. Yeah.
And then also if you're stuck or you're not sure, reach out to somebody who can help you, like yourself, and what you can do in helping authors just get going. And also, I guess the other part would be to stay motivated through the process.
Absolutely. There's so many ups and downs. And, for me, even personally writing this book, I have entries from 2017. Like, this is not something that's happening overnight for me personally, because it's just a collection of stories throughout my life. So being patient with yourself is important. And, I always believe in having this big end goal, but then breaking things down into smaller bite-sized pieces to keep going. And I'm also an athlete. My husband and I run, 20 plus mile trail runs in the woods, and it's fun.
Wow.
It's fun. But I think it's really important to remember that you don't do the marathon the day after you sign up with no training.
Yeah.
That's the best analogy. And the same thing with a book. A book is going to take time. It's going to take heart. It's going to take maybe some tears. It's going to take energy, and have the end goal of this is happening, but work backwards. So what do I need to do today, tomorrow, the next day to just show up consistently to build the momentum needed to finish and achieve that thing? Because it is possible.
So we've kind of touched on starting. We touched on motivation to continue. At the end of the process, Bridget, like, what do you have suggestions for new authors on how to market? Like, there's podcasts, there's speaking engagements, there's book signings, there's all these things, there's social media. There's so many ways you can go about this. And some people have technical skills. They can do the internet, they do the websites, they can do all that stuff. Some people don't have that. What would you suggest? Is it personally based on you as a person? How can we promote our books and do it in the most efficient way?
So my first invitation for someone would be, what feels the most exciting? Because I always feel like whenever we have our own energy kind of poured into something, that can be felt. It is palpable. It is tangible. So number one, what would be the most exciting way for you to share this book with the world? Would it be to have, your closest family and friends over in your local community, at your local library, at your local bookstore, and just bring those people together? Maybe you're going to contact like the Chamber of Commerce and some local business organizations. You could go that route. With social media, there's so many options. We recommend building a street team of just people who will say yes to sharing and supporting the book when it comes out there to the world. So maybe they will share it on their email list. Maybe they'll share it on a Instagram post or on an Instagram reel. Maybe they'll interview you on their podcast. So building those people, right? Like building that just kind of insular network of people that will be supporting you on that day is really important to just build the momentum and build the hype. So that could be another route. There's just so many possibilities. So that first question would be just what feels most exciting for you. It's been interesting. All of our book launches have been virtual for the last 2 years because of the circumstances. And now things are finally, we can do things in person. So we've had a number of our authors host these in-person book launches like a local winery, and just having a great time with the community. And that feels good for me. That's exciting for me to be with someone in person, be able to like hug them and hold their hand and give them the physical book. So again, I think it's what feels exciting for you. And also how can we make this as fun and as simple as possible, but also be the next question. So if you're technologically challenged, maybe you stay with like what maybe you're really good at building personal connections with your local community, then just go that route. Make it simple.
Make it work for yourself. It's all about building community, really. And whatever that looks like to you, like you said, if it's a family thing, if it's within your own community where you live, if it's online, whatever that is, just build that community around it. And then with that, then you have just that multiplying effect as people start to share out the book and share your writing with somebody. That's all it's about. And I love the podcast side of it personally. Obviously, the fact that, again, we get to talk in person, hear a little bit more about the story behind the book, have all the call to action and click the link and all that kind of stuff to help the author at the end of the podcast. So I enjoy it. And I love listening to the experts, because whether you're writing a business book or a self-help book or a memoir, you're writing from a certain place of expertise or personal knowledge, and you are the expert. And that's the one thing that you mentioned earlier about there's no hierarchy about good or bad, really as well. From an author's perspective, you are the expert on your story. No one else can tell that story like you can, because you lived it. So you already have a platform with the writing of your book. So you don't need to build up the confidence of, do I have a voice now that I have a book? No, you have that voice. So go and share, and whatever that looks like, and however you can do that. I'm inspired, and I love hearing the response from the audience as well. It's really good.
Love that.
So from your podcast journey as well, do you see that kind of response as well?
In form of what?
So like you have guests on your podcast as well?
Yep.
And kind of see that kind of interaction between host and guest?
Absolutely. And I feel so grateful to have the connections. Like I've done networking calls where it's just, I was like, I want to bring the people together. I've created networking calls for the people who I've interviewed so they could all get to know each other, because I love, it's like me and you know each other, but you don't know all the people that I know. And I wanted to like bring everyone together. So absolutely, like my dharma, my purpose in the world is to bring people together and create community. That is my spiritual name. It is part of my spiritual practice. It's always been a part of my life. Even since I was a child, I loved having people over my home. I loved hosting things and allowing people to get to know each other. So for me, building relationships, creating community, allowing people to get to know each other, that will be there no matter what I do in business and in my life. It is so there. And it's absolutely come to fruition with the podcast, which is so cool.
Excellent. So the name of your podcast, let's share that with everybody. Love to do that as well.
Sure. It's called She Builds Empires.
Excellent. And you have many episodes. So there's lots to listen to.
There is. The podcast, this is a rebrand. So the podcast used to be called The Gathering Movement, where I'd gather the minds to riff on topics like leadership, spirituality, Kundalini yoga. And now it's focused mainly on interviewing 6, 7, 8-figure business owners who are not just obviously making a lot of money in their businesses, but I also want to hear about who they are beyond the business. Who are they as a mother, a parent, a friend, a sister? How do they take care of themselves? So I want that to be a new conversation in leadership. Excellent.
And then as far as your website and everything as well, so people can connect with you, Bridget, how do we do that?
Sure. So you can connect with me on all socials at Bridget Aileen Sicsko. And then my website is bridgetaileen.com.
Awesome. We'll put all that information in the show notes as well. Again, I'm looking forward to your book. I love the working title. I'm not sure what we're going to land with that, but it's a great working title for the book. And it captures so much heart. And I'm looking forward to having a copy of that on my coffee table so I can share that with other people as well.
Thank you. I appreciate you.
Awesome, Bridget. Thank you so much. And again, thank you for sending some really great authors our way. And the door is always open to anybody you want to send us, Bridget, because you are amazing and your authors are amazing. And so lucky to have you with us today.
Thank you, Dave.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Hey guys, thank you for listening to the podcast. Jump over to livingthenextchapter.com, our website, and you will see a spot where you can leave a voice message. We'd love to hear your feedback. We're trying to make it as easy as possible to hear from you. So if you want your voice on this podcast, yes, that's possible. Go to livingthenextchapter.com. Click the little microphone icon, leave a voice message. We'll insert your message into the podcast. Tell us where you're listening from. Tell us your favorite guest. Maybe there's a guest we should have on the podcast. Maybe you should be our next guest. Leave us a message. livingthenextchapter.com. Again, thank you so much for listening. Please share this podcast episode with one person. That's all we're asking. Meet you over there at livingthenextchapter.com. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing. Love to hear from you. Till the next episode. It's coming up right away. Be sure you hit that subscribe button. Thank you for being part of Living the Next Chapter. Thank you for supporting our guests. Have a great day.